there's some data that
Thank
was
you all
just
for
in
coming.
seeking.
Please help
So,
yourself to
we're gonna just
coffee,
get,
juice,
I want to
and
check with you.
I
About
want to get
transfer
started
the,
so that we have time to
so
hear
it
from
wasn't
our
in
distinguished panelists.
nothing like that.
Students, if you are
Hadn't anything to do with
here was part of the class, please make sure that you sign in so that I can give your professor a copy so that you are duly noted as participating. I want to get started by introducing our panel, and I'm going to start down that end. And first I want to introduce Mr. Ed Haddad. Ed spent 28 years with Pioneer Coverall as a manufacturing specialist. He is currently a consultant in manufacturing and operations engineering. Mr. Haddad holds an MBA in specialized operations from Worcester Polytech and both a master's and a bachelor's degree from Fitchburg State in industrial education. Ed claims that he is passionate about, no, he doesn't just claim it, he is passionate about returning manufacturing to the United States. He's very involved in lean manufacturing and all aspects of inventions, and he holds 16 patents, industrial patents, which is very, very impressive. On his LinkedIn page, he lists some of his interests as skiing, sailing, woodworking, home repairs, and cooking. But ladies, he's taking that. Okay, so
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
our next speaker is Lee Horton. He is the president of
Leading Edge Attachments.
Leading Edge Attachments. I'm sorry, I lost my place here. Leading Edge Attachments, and he is also a patent holder for Red Attach, and we'll be seeing a short video about that invention, along with his wife and partner, who is also the co-inventor of Red Attach, and they have a patent pending. So I think that while Ed holds completed patents, I think they can tell you a little bit about the process of trying to get a patent. Lee has a master's in business administration and a BS in mechanical engineering from Purdue and a master's from Illinois Institute of Technology. Our next speaker is our own Leslie Horton. She's the Dean for Mathematics and Science here at the college. She's also an expert on the patent process and business. She holds BS from Purdue in mathematics and MS in mathematics from Northeastern Illinois University and a doctorate from the University of Massachusetts at Lowell. And our next guest is Amy Mosher. Amy describes herself as an entrepreneurial-minded community and workforce development professional. She currently works downtown at Workforce Central, where she's the strategy and innovation leader. She has been an AmeriCorps volunteer. She studied and has a bachelor's degree from the University of Vermont in environmental studies and Spanish, and a master's in community development planning from Clark University. She knows everybody who's anybody in the Worcester area for entrepreneurship.
Somebody would test me?
She really does. She's affiliated with the Center for Women in Enterprise from the MLK on Chandler Street for incubating businesses from all kinds. She does entrepreneur training at Workforce Central. Sometimes when people lose their jobs, the best thing to do is to create their own jobs, and Amy's an expert at helping people to do that. So I'll let people tell you a little bit more about themselves, but I want to get started. And I think we will start, Amy, with you. So if you would spend about maybe a few minutes, 10 minutes or so, telling us about everybody you know.
Everybody I know. Okay. Hi, everybody. It's so great to be here. I was here, I think it was a couple of years ago, Jean, and it was one of my favorite events that I had spoken at. So thanks for having me back. I'm going to say something first before I talk to you about all the people I know. One of my favorite lines, and actually is on the bottom of my electronic signature in my email, says, whether you believe you can or cannot, you are right. So I just wanted to start with that notion. Can anybody just shout out, why did I start with that? So I'll say it again. Whether you believe you can or cannot, you are right. Thank you.
It's about how you perceive things.
Exactly. Beautiful. What's your name?
Tracy.
Thanks, Tracy. Awesome. And I'm interactive, so sometimes I'll call people that you can always say pass. But so again, I really think that we're entering very new times, and I do believe whether, if I know a lot of folks here are currently students, maybe you're going to be a student or returning, or perhaps you're in transition, maybe you're unemployed or underemployed, or somebody you know is one of those. We are all human beings, and we all have big hopes and dreams, big possibilities, and a lot of what actually ends up happening in our lives, you guys, it's because of what we believe. Do you know what I'm talking about? I don't care if you have an accent, I don't care if you look different or sound different or wherever you come from. You've got a lot of potential locked inside of you, and so it really has a lot to do with the thoughts that we allow to occupy our brain. You guys know we have approximately 60,000 thoughts a day. The vast majority, as humans, are negative. So the training and those who will be successful entrepreneurs are those who actually know how to thank the disempowering thoughts that float through your head. Say, thank you very much for showing up, and now I'm going to replace that with an empowering thought that's actually going to help me get to my dreams. Okay? So that's how I roll. That's what I think about. And we're doing a lot of great stuff at Workforce Central Career Center. Quick show of hands. Anybody heard of Workforce Central Career Center before coming in the room? Okay, great, awesome. Anybody actually been there, downtown Career Center? A lot of folks think that we are the, quote, unemployment office. One of my life missions is to distinguish unemployment office from the correct term, which is the Career Center. We're a one-stop career center. We're one of 33 one-stop career centers across the state of Massachusetts, and we are a combination of city and state employees. I happen to be a City of Worcester employee. We all operate under the umbrella of Workforce Central, and we serve both job seekers and employers across the region in central Massachusetts. Okay, and I call myself an intrapreneur because I consider myself to be an inside entrepreneur. So I wanted to give, and I didn't come up with that. I can't take credit for that term, you guys, but I want some of you to be thinking about whether or not the next step for you is to actually launch a business short term. I want you to be thinking like an inside entrepreneur. Does that make sense? So your next gig might be some creative role within somebody else's company. That might help get your foot in the door. You may be a project consultant, for example, for a larger company. You guys know that there's a lot of reasons, especially in Massachusetts, for employers to hold off on hiring. Do you know what I'm talking about? You know you're a great candidate. They know you're a great candidate. It's a good match, a good fit, and whatever reason, they didn't hire, or they didn't hire you. So there's a lot going on there. We really want to empower people wherever you're at, whether it's in your job search or your business development. And I'll tell you guys just briefly, at the Career Center, we do have 2 workshops every month. It's called E1, is Exploring Entrepreneurship. That's typically the second Monday of every month from 2 to 4:30 p.m. And I did get a special exception. You do not first need to be a Workforce Central Career Center member to attend the E1, Exploring Entrepreneurship workshop. You can actually come as somebody who's interested in that workshop, and then you can choose to become a member of Workforce Central. And to do that, it's very simple, everybody. You just take something called a Career Center Seminar, or a CCS, and that's about an hour and a half of your time. It's an overview of all Career Center services, many of which people are shocked at what we offer at the Career Center. And we offer things that include social media and LinkedIn support, job search strategies. We offer interview techniques. We help with resumes and all sorts of things. And we're always developing new programs, and I'm proud to say I've been a little part in developing new programs. You guys know that the economy has changed drastically. So if we could just keep doing what we've always done, we're going to get what we've always gotten. You heard that expression? Even in your own lives. If you keep doing what you've always done over and over, you guys know where I'm going with this, right? Expecting a different result, nothing personal, and it defines insanity. Nothing personal. So don't let that negative thought creep in your mind, okay? I'm just letting you know that we've got to think big, think differently, and that's what we're doing at the Career Center. As far as the second, well, so let me tell you just briefly what we actually do in the Exploring Entrepreneurship workshop. If anybody did want to come to the next workshop, that would be March 10th. I do have some white flyers here for you guys, so I'll put it probably either with Jean or in the back. I've got a couple of resource sheets. What we cover in that workshop is we go over different terms and concepts that are helpful for entrepreneurs to understand. You actually do 2 self-assessments, so you look at actual skills and characteristics that successful entrepreneurs possess, and you get to identify strengths and weaknesses. I don't do that so that you look at, oh my gosh, I'm so weak in this area. No, we look at your weaknesses in relation to your business goal, and we say, you know what, is that important? Is accounting important for you? Probably, if you're going to be in business for yourself long term, but you don't need to be the expert in accounting. You just need to know that it's important. Perhaps you're weak in it. Maybe you take a workshop, or you barter, or you hire somebody, right? And I know all of this, it's like a lot going on when you're first starting a business. But we look at that. You also walk out of the E1 Exploring Entrepreneurship workshop with a 1-page business plan. So how many people have ever started a business plan before? At one point I had 7 going, okay? That's the mind of the entrepreneur, right? So a lot of people will actually avoid writing a business plan at all costs because they think it's like some big assignment. It's got to be 80 pages or even 40 pages, and it's intimidating. And it's like, ugh, when the heck am I going to do that? How do I know if it's the right way to do it? Can somebody throw me a bone here? So a lot of people, they think they should do it, or they've started it and they don't return to it or complete them, and then you get frustrated, and then you don't necessarily pursue the plan because you haven't actually finished the plan. So I want to throw out another concept that we talk about in the workshops. I want to challenge everybody here to plan your work. And then what's the second half of that? Peter, don't tell him. Peter Friedland, right here. Peter? I know, but I want to actually introduce you because Peter's supporting the entrepreneurship program at the Career Center, so thanks for being here, Peter. That gave everybody else a little extra time. So plan the work, and what's the, yeah. You got it. So, bless you. Plan the work and work the plan. One without the other, it's okay. It's better than not doing anything, but it's not going to get you the results you're capable of. Make sense? And the plan doesn't have to be too crazy, big, and scary. So you walk out of E1 Exploring Entrepreneurship Workshop at the Career Center, and you actually have a 1-page business plan, and then you've got a series of sheets including questions with different categories that you can flesh it out a bit more at home. And then you also walk away, and I'm going to give you guys a decent list today. There's something called the Worcester Business Resource Alliance, or the WBRA. I know that's like one more addition to the alphabet soup flying around the community, but the WBRA, the Worcester Business Resource Alliance, we're about 13, it's all nonprofit and government agencies that are all working to support small business startups and entrepreneurs in Central Massachusetts. We're incredibly lucky in Central Mass that we've got so many of these agencies, and I know Jean started to mention a few of them, and I do have them for everybody. It's on, nope, just kidding. It's on the back of the white sheet. So this is not an exhaustive or exclusive list, everybody, but it gives you a nice listing of actual human beings, real live people. Anybody wonder where the humans have gone today? So these are real people, my colleagues who sit on the WBRA with me. We meet once a month, actually, just as an alliance, and it's representatives of the Center for Women in Enterprise, my colleagues with the City of Worcester, the Office of Business Development. Anybody been at Clark University? There are a couple things. One is the MSBDC, the Mass Small Business Development Center. They're actually starting off, I don't know if Jean, you may know this in the community or good to announce, they're starting their spring workshop series March 6th. So guys, I would check in. You can even Google MSBDC Clark, click on trainings and workshops, and from March 6th, and they're not quite consecutive Thursdays, but they're every couple or every 2 or 3 Thursdays over the springtime, March, April, and May. They have awesome workshops, and they're deeply subsidized by SBA. So it's like $35 to be in a session. It's going to really move your business forward for 3 hours, and you can just talk to them. Let them know what you need. A lot of this spring series is going to focus on internet marketing, communications, getting your business concept out in the community. There's also other organizations. I'm not going to list them all, but I know MLK was mentioned. RCAP Solutions, we have a colleague from there. SCORE, hey guys, that's free business coaching to you. It's really awesome. So you can meet with them. They're actually located at the Chamber office on Main Street, but they also have first Tuesday of every month at the Worcester Public Library. They have 3 hours. You have to book in advance to get free business coaching, but I would take advantage of that. Worcester Public Library, guys, great resource for small business. Did you know that they will help you? There's a resource center for small business. Very, very few public libraries around the country have this resource. There's a guy named Paul Pelletier. I know that Peter has met him, but I would definitely check it out, guys. You can get online and hard copy resources, help with your market research. Is this even a feasible idea? You don't want to just launch a business without doing some of your due diligence. Of course, at the Career Center, and then also a lot of folks know about the Venture Forum. It used to be actually exclusively at WPI. Now it's the Venture Forum at large, and it bounces around a few different locations across the city of Worcester, and it's typically the second Tuesday of every month. So again, a great opportunity to meet people who are building businesses and developing concepts. And I know that Ed, I can go on. In fact, Ed, you were on my TV show just a number of, yes.
I was on her TV show.
Very nice. Awesome. And I guess I'll just mention that briefly. I know you guys probably can't see that up here. It's actually got a little rained on when it's nice out, but then the water drips and you're like,
I've got to tell you, I've gotten some comments from people about the title
about
of your TV show.
I know. I'm not embarrassed about it. I think it's all good. So we're trying to get visibility, exposure. We need people in the community to actually get out there effectively. So we have a new TV show. If you guys can see this here. Spotlighting entrepreneurs and job seekers. And yes, the name of the TV show is Exposure with Mosier. We're on WCCA TV 13. And basically Career Center members, whether you're job seekers or entrepreneurs who want exposure in today's dynamic marketplace, they will come in. I will prep, help you with your pitch. You guys know that's helpful, right? Anybody here worked on your pitch? If you haven't, you want to be thinking about how you can make a bit more simple your idea. Another cool tip, simplify to multiply. You've got to simplify your business concept, your basic business idea, to be able to multiply and bring it bigger. Do you guys know if you get too complicated in your pitch, people won't be able to really remember the value, your unique value proposition, why they would buy your product or service. They might say, she was kind of cool and fun, or he was really excited about his concept, but I forgot what he said. So you want to be able to work on that pitch and get it out there. So it doesn't have to be on a TV show, but we do have an option if people did want to work more closely with the Career Center. If you did want to get exposure, you could be on the TV show. That's another option. If you are interested beyond the E1 workshop, it's typically 2 weeks after E1. We have E2, and that basically is more interactive. It's more customized. It's always a little bit different based on who's in the room. La 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 la. And we basically do a lot practicing your pitch. You break into small groups and you practice in pairs your pitch. You get coaching. We also do a lot around communication and sales techniques trainings. Have you guys ever thought about what makes somebody an effective communicator versus an ineffective communicator? Right? It's like, I said the same thing as he said, but they listened to him more. Does anybody want to just throw out an idea? What makes somebody more effective at communication, and how is that related to business development? Practice. Contacts, practice. Eye contact, for sure. Great. Okay, you have people get comfortable. You guys know that people buy the person before the product. You heard that? People will buy you as a person, as who you're being. Remember, we're human beings. Sometimes we forget about that. We think we're human doings, sayings, havings. We're actually human beings. They're going to buy you before they buy your product. If you have the best product in the world, you are the most qualified individual, and you're a jerk in your delivery, they're probably going to go to your competitor even if the quality isn't quite as great. Isn't that nuts? You guys, we all do it. Okay? So these are just some little tidbits of information. I could go on, but I know we've got fellow panelists to move forward, and always happy to take questions. But again, I just want to tell you what's on these sheets, guys. This is a flyer for the next upcoming Exploring Entrepreneurship workshop at Workforce Central Career Center, again, March 10th. And I did list many, not all, of the Worcester Business Resource Alliance contact people. And then the green sheet, totally optional. But this is a great sheet. If you guys haven't been down to the Career Center recently, I would encourage you to take our March 2014 calendar. I hope I have enough for everybody who wants one here. And we also have workshop descriptions on the back. So feel free to, shop for the workshops that are going to help you out or pass the word. And yeah, thank you, Jean. I think there's more of those than those, but we'll work it out. So thanks everyone for your attention. I hope I was helpful in some regard, and I would love to hear from my colleagues here, and happy to take questions now or later. Thank you.
Okay, well, I guess I'm up next. This is my husband, Lee Horton. Like Jean said, he's a mechanical engineer. So I need to present a little preamble here to what we created, because necessity truly was the mother of invention for us. My father he's 90 years old right now, and probably about 4 years ago, he had to have his leg partially amputated below the knee due to diabetes. So, at 90 years old, he's not very muscular. He doesn't really have the muscle to kind of move around well, especially with a prosthetic leg. So the prosthetic leg requires a sleeve that you put on the stump of the leg that has a pin in it that has to be perfectly lined up on the stump to fit into the prosthetic leg. Well, at 90 years old, he was not able to, he didn't have he's very petite, and he didn't have the length to be able to put the sleeve on the stump as needed and lined up, as well as he didn't really have the muscle strength to put the sleeve on his leg anyway. So this whole process, in order to get the prosthetic leg on, putting on the sleeve, would take on the average of about probably 4 hours of him and my mother, who's 83, working, trying to get this arranged, perfectly aligned. And my mother has macular degeneration. So you can imagine the scenario that ensued. And after 60 years of marriage, they were at each other. He's a scrappy guy anyway. And so this kind of made him really scrappy and depressed, because once they did get it on, after 4 hours of arguing, he could not take it off. So if he went to bed, and at 90 years old, he was in bed a lot, he couldn't take it off because then he was bedridden. So he couldn't get up to go to the bathroom. He couldn't do anything other than just lie in bed. So they moved into assisted living, and the assisted living personnel said that this wasn't a function of their job, so they couldn't put the sleeve on for them. And so then we looked at the avenue of they're under insurance, so having someone come out and put the sleeve on for him would have cost $1,000 a day. So while my sister was down visiting them, and she was able to see the interaction that took place and how my father's personality just began to decline, and he was getting very depressed and very scrappy. And so she called and said, isn't there something you can do, knowing that Lee is a mechanical engineer, isn't there something that you can come up with or create to help him? So I had a very rough sketch of an idea of what I wanted, what I thought would be helpful, and knowing that Lee himself has 19 patents in his job, that this would be the person to go to. So I took it to Lee, and I asked him if he would be willing to come up or further expand on my idea, which again, it was a very rough sketch, and come up with something that would help my father. So he came up with something, and I'll show you that in a minute, and he'll pick this up in a minute. But we went to Home Depot, and we spent like 4 hours at Home Depot. We kind of did like a scavenger hunt. It was like, let's just see what they have. Let's see what fits into our model, our prototype. And so we were there like 4 hours, and Home Depot was kind of sensing out the security and like, what are you doing here for 4 hours? So I'm gonna pull up the website. We did create a website because we do intend, like Jean said, we have it's patent pending at this point. But I'm gonna do that, and then he's gonna pick up the rest of the conversation so you can see. Good, you want to?
Okay. Are you going to do the video?
Well, all right.
Okay. Just show the video.
Okay.
Is that in audio?
No.
Oh.
So this is my father. He's demonstrating the device, so he's putting it on. Now, what took 4 hours and arguing and we sent the prototype out to him, and what took 4 hours for him to put on was reduced to 3 seconds, literally.
don't do the video, then do the pictures.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought there was audio. Anyway, now what it is, this sleeve, this is the device right here, and the sleeve has a pin on it that, which I'll show you. This is the sleeve with the pin coming down. And he couldn't reach down to put that on, so he always had to have help, and it had to be lined up perpendicular to the end of his leg, or axial to his leg. So this allows you to put the sleeve in there, and it holds the pin in place, and you put the sleeve on the outside, and then you just put your leg in there, and then you just roll it on, and then you just pick that up, and it pops right into the thing, and it's very quick. This just shows the stages going through. And we made this out of PVC pipe and a board and everything. So it's basically a very simple thing. But now show the video.
Okay. Well, so the sleeve is already inserted. So he has two sleeves. So one is already inserted into the device, and then he places the stump of the leg into the sleeve and then rolls it up, and that you can see over there, that's the sleeve coming out, and then this is ultimately, this is what would go into the prosthetic
Yeah,
leg, and we'll
this is
show
more
that.
pictures.
Yep.
So then it just puts it in there, and there's a locking mechanism that just locks once it goes in place. And then to get it off, there's a button on the side that releases it. So you can just pop it right in.
Below-the-knee prosthetics are typically attached using a suspension sleeve and includes a sleeve pin that locks onto the prosthetic leg. For individuals that require the connection to be far down, it is very difficult to bend over and hold the sleeve pin perpendicular to the end of the leg. Using the red attach assures that the pin is in proper position and leaves no air in the sleeve so that the prosthetic leg can be readily attached. The user does not need to bend over or reach trying to position the pin. It takes less than 30 seconds.
So now he can get up anytime he wants and have that on and off very quickly. So we applied for a patent, and I encourage everyone that has a great idea to go for the patent approach. If it's financially, if it's something really simple, sometimes you're better off not patenting it, because when you go to the patent process, you're disclosing everything. So you have to make a decision.
So this was something that we had no intention really of, we're going to make a product, we're going to patent it. It was something that I needed to do for my father. And so when he started using this at the assisted living people were asking questions about it. Where did you get it? Where can we get one? And then occasionally he has to have adjustments made on the prosthetic leg or the sleeve. So that the people from that company were coming out and asking him about it and where can they get it? How was it made? And it's made out of toilet stuff, like. So it was strictly, we didn't even know how much it took to make it. So then so my father called and the happy part of the story is that what took 4 hours now takes 3 seconds, and it totally changed his life. He's a completely different person now. And he would call like every 2 weeks and tell us how thankful he is and how much it changed his life. But we had no intention of marketing it, and then there was quite a bit of interest generated and curiosity on where do they get it, how can they make it. So we decided at that point that we'd pursue a patent for it, because there's nothing out there on the market that helps. And he's a World War II decorated veteran. And so you can imagine the number of veterans just that we have right now that perhaps might need assistance in putting on their prosthetic leg. And it was pretty much, sorry, you're on your own. And so we decided then to pursue getting a patent with this. Oh, yeah, that's it.
How is it? Is this on? Wait.
Yeah.
Okay. I have well, there's an application on there, but anyway, what you do, you either have a model. The best thing to do first is to make, in my opinion, is to make diagrams or sketches of what it is. And, you know, in that case, similar sketches just like what's shown up there. You can just hand sketch them and then have a description of what it is, and you have a preferred embodiment. This is the best of this idea. And then you come up with the novel features and why it's different and why it's an advantage of everything else. And then you can go to a patent attorney. There's even patent writing software, which I've never tried that, but if you get a good patent attorney and your goal is to, you first can come up with a provisional patent if you want, which is less expensive. It could be less than $5,000, which that gives you a year to file a full-blown patent. But during that year, you're covered, and it also gives you a chance if it ever does go big, you can file for foreign patents then. So the provisional patent is the way to go to start. Always, I recommend that because it's less expensive, because it might not even take off. This product here, because of the, we're just now trying to commercialize it, and we'll probably end up having to license it or something because we're of the rules and regulations about medical devices and all that other thing. But anyway, after you have the provisional patent, then you go onto the regular full-blown patent, in which case the claims are the most important thing. And the claims have to be written in a very broad sense. You want it as broad as possible to cover, so that somebody can't just come in and change one little nuance of it and then get around that. So your goal is to get it as broad as possible, and then it usually goes to an examiner. It takes, it may take, between 6 months and a year to get it back, and then they say no, they're rejected. Your claims are rejected, and then you go on this basis. And then you go, oh, okay. Well, then you change the claims a little bit more, and then you send it back, and then you wait another, 6 months, a year, whatever. You get it back, it's rejected again. This is always, like I said, she said I have 19 patents, and every single time it's like this, because you're trying to get it as broad as possible, and the examiner's trying to get it as narrow as possible. So it's kind of like an argument. So then you change it, and hopefully by the third time you've got it zeroed in. Otherwise, after that you're done, because it's rejected finally, and then you don't have the patent. So, but during that process, you're paying for the patent attorney, and it costs money. So hopefully by then you're making money from the thing, and you can pay for the patent. But that's usually the process.
The total cost approximately on average. So on this one, what would you think it would cost you, or on the 19 patents that you have, on average?
Well, it depends. It could range from $10,000 to $30,000-$40,000.
And is it mostly the attorney's fees?
Yeah, the fees that you pay each time back and forth are like hundreds of dollars, but the real expense is the patent fees, or the patent expenses. But it's not all in one shot, and like I said, each of those iterations, you have to pay $2,000 or whatever, and then again, and then back and forth and whatnot. So, but like I said, if you came up with an invention that you don't think you could make enough money to cover that, then a lot of times the way to go is not patent and just try to commercialize it as fast as you can. And then when somebody copies it, then you say that you're the originator of it, and then you go that way. So anyway, yes.
So anytime a person buys the product because it's your patent, do you earn some money out of every product bought?
I'm sorry.
I'm saying any time a person buy the product like patient because the product was invented by you, you get some profit out of it.
Oh, yeah, well, it depends. If you're going through your company, you know, you don't get anything for it, the company gets it. But if it's your invention and you're marketing it and selling it, if it costs you $2 to make and you charge $4, then you make $2 every one you sell. You know, you try to make money on the sales of it, you know, to cover.
He's asking if somebody else sells it for you, do you still get money?
Oh, yeah, like if I license it to someone? Yeah, a typical license to a manufacturer is like, let's say, 6 or 7 or 8% of the sales. So if I went to a manufacturer and go, here, can you make that and sell it, market and everything, for every dollar they made, we would make, 6 cents or something. So you can go that route too. Yes.
Well, you talked about how the alternative route, what you were going would be commercializing it and selling it directly yourself.
Yeah.
What would you say the average cost would be involved in that? You have
Well,
a paper production, where do you get that from?
Yeah, well, what you could do is you could try to get the sales, and then once you have the sales secure, then go have it made. You can hire somebody to make it for you, or you can, but the hardest thing is to get the word out, and you have to have a website, and then you have to have brochures and, marketing and, advertisements and, little by little the magazines are getting thinner and thinner, and the internet's taking over, so the majority is now going to be the internet, so you just get a website. And getting a website's not that difficult either. It's very easy.
Is your company the only one making it now?
Yeah, well, this is a new thing, so it's not even really commercialized. This was an example of what we worked on together. I have other products that are commercialized that are on the market that are being sold right now.
But the leading edge attachments in ink is not making this product.
Yeah, if somebody called up, we would make it and send it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
custom, nobody else is making it.
No, nobody can because we have a patent pending. If somebody starts making that, we would send them a cease and desist letter, and if they don't stop, then we make a claim on them, which could be 6 times whatever they made. So the patent allows you, creates a monopoly, so that you're the only one that can make that, and you have 20 years from the day you file the patent. It used to be 17 years from when it was issued. Now it's 20 years from when you file.
But you have to keep an eye on
Yeah.
the market, right?
Like I have another product that people continuously try to copy or whatever, and I have to send these cease and desist letters, and then make sure that they stop it, and then if they don't, you have a right to. And where I used to work, we did that with someone, and they copied it, and we ended up with 6 times what they made back as a judgment, and so plus court costs. Yes.
Well, this kind of goes to what you're talking about, where you want to make your patent as broad as possible, and whoever's analyzing the word wants to make it as specific as possible. For your particular patent, I'm looking at the design you have, and it has like a board on the bottom with a PVC pipe coming off.
Yeah.
What if someone were to alter that and take out the board on the bottom and say it had a sort of Velcro at the bottom that was able to catch a carpet? So
Yeah.
instead of the board, would that be under your patent, or would it be something else design then?
That's a good question. An example of the claim, I'll just read the claim for that. The claim is very broad, so it goes,
How much time? We should probably turn it.
yeah,
Is it very long?
no.
Right.
Here's the first claim, okay? A prosthetic sleeve and sleeve pin alignment device comprising a support and a body extending from the support and defining a sleeve receiving recess, including an elongated sleeve pin receiving aperture, the sleeve receiving recess being perpendicular to the sleeve pin aperture. So it's like, I mean, it doesn't say anything about the base or the PVC or what, you know. Yeah.
And if I may, that's why you really need a good patent attorney, because they can take your concept and they can put it into such broad legalese that it's very, very difficult for the layperson to understand that unless they've had a lot of experience reading patents.
So we're going to have plenty of time for questions at the end, but I want to give Ed, who's got so passionate about manufacturing, a chance to speak. So, but please, we're going to allow time for questions at the end. So thank you for all your interest. Ed.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. Lee has taken some of my thunder because I wanted to talk about innovation and product development. When I went to work for Pioneer Coverall back in 1985, we were a very small company. I had 3 people working in the plant. Sales were under $1 million per year. One of the tasks I was given was to grow the company. So we started developing new products. And over a 15, 18-year period, we grew the company from under $1 million in sales to well over $20 million in sales. And most of that is attributable to new product development. I will tell you what we made. It's not glamorous, it's not sexy. We made covering systems for dump trucks, dump trailers, and roll-off trucks. These are automatic tarping systems that go over the load to keep the stuff from falling off the truck, hitting you in the windshield. One of the biggest things we did was back in 1989, I developed the first hydraulically operated system for a roll-off container truck. You're all familiar with a roll-off container. They leave them on a job site, they fill them with construction debris, they pick them up with a truck and carry them. Well, because of the national litter law, that became a must for every carrier across the entire United States because they couldn't drop anything on the side of the road. Many of them were hand-tarped, and the guy would climb up on top of the container, he'd slip and fall. It was a liability problem for the owner of the truck, many, many things. So we developed the first one in 1989, and we did patent that. And it's all, necessity is the mother of invention, just like Lee and Leslie said. And one of the things you need to do, and what I want to talk about, is you have to survey the marketplace. We had a marketplace, we knew what our customers were looking for. We would get feedback from our customers. Well, this system doesn't do this, or this system doesn't do that. Yes, we have competitors, and the competitors have this similar issue, or they have that other issue. So you listen to you listen to your customers, you find out what are they looking for. Once you gather all that data, then you start to digest it and you analyze it. And from that, you start thinking about ways to do something differently. In one particular case, we had a competitor of ours who did one thing, and everybody said to me, well, we need to do something like that. You've got to come up with a way around it. He had a patented product. So after sitting and reading his patent thoroughly, over and over and over again, I came up with a different way of doing it. We applied for a patent on it, we built it, we prototyped it, we tested it, we put it out in the marketplace. He was all over us. You're infringing on my patent. In fact, I ended up testifying in federal court in Detroit, Michigan, in a patent infringement lawsuit, which he lost and we won. Because I had the guts, I think, much to my attorney's dismay, to look at the judge and say, can we go off the record for a second? Let me explain to you how this really works. And he had a model there, and I showed them the way it really worked. He said, oh, okay, fine. Went back on the record. 2 days later, it was a summary judgment. The case was dismissed. We were not infringing on his patent whatsoever. But the competition thought we were infringing on his patent. So it's very, very important to read the competition's patents extremely thoroughly, get interpretation of them by a patent attorney if you have a good patent attorney on retainer, which we did, which was a godsend, because in many cases, we start to go down one particular road, and even though we've read the patent very thoroughly, we found out that, no, we really can't do that because of one little word in the patent changes the meaning of the whole thing. So we had to go in a different direction. As I said, study and understand your competition's patents. Google patent search is a wonderful tool out there. You can Google any patent, you do a search, a Boolean search for it, you can come up with many different things. But you've got to start with the idea first. And the idea is going to come, if you're in a company, as I was, from your customers. Listen to your customers, listen to what they're looking for. Not all the ideas that they're going to come up with are great ideas. Some of them are not quite feasible. Some of them are not economically feasible. I developed some products that once we did the patent search on them, we applied for the patent, we sat down and did a cost analysis of it, we found out that the market is not going to bear the cost of it. So we left the patents, we continued the patent process because that precluded the competition from doing something like it. And maybe they had a faster, better way of manufacturing it, but it stopped them from actually going any further and doing it. So we kept the patents going for a number of years, and I think finally at the 10-year mark, nobody had come out with anything. We abandoned the patent. We didn't want to spend the money on the maintenance fees anymore. Some of the steps you need to go through, and Lee alluded to some of this, one of the things that I was told by a patent attorney many years ago is when you first come up with an idea and you think it's a viable idea, document everything. As Lee said, sketch it, do a write-up on it, a verbal write-up on it, take that, put it in an envelope, and send it back to yourself, certified mail, because that establishes date of concept. Because that way, if there's any questions further down the road, you've got that. Don't open the envelope when it comes back to you. Just put it in a file somewhere, but that establishes the date of concept. Because if you get into a patent infringement lawsuit or something further down the road, you've got that envelope right here that shows everything. And everything's dated and documented, and coming back to your certified mail, everybody looks at certified mail and says, yes, that's correct, you know? So you want to do that. The other thing you want to do is you want to find a patent attorney who's well-versed in your area of expertise. You don't want to go to a patent attorney who's really good on electronics if you're doing something mechanical. You want to find an attorney who's really good with mechanical objects rather than somebody who's in the electronic sphere. We had a patent attorney in Boston who was excellent at $500 an hour, but he had a whole staff of people. He was one of the senior partners. His forte was the mechanical part of it. And I could walk into his office with a sketch and say, this is what we want to do, and sit down and explain it to him over the course of an hour. And he would put the provisional patent application together or send it off to one of his associates, and the claims were so broad, it was unbelievable. And it's all done in legalese. And until you get used to reading legalese, and they love to use the word said. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Said this, said that. And it took me a while to understand what they mean.
They have to mention the item, and then after they refer to it after that, it's a said this.
Yeah, it's like, it doesn't make sense to me, but that's the legalese that the attorneys use, and it really works very, very well. As I said, the cost analysis is very important. If the market will bear the cost of it. Once you've built a prototype, you've tested it, make sure you've already filed for a provisional patent application, because that way it precludes anybody else from doing anything, as Lee said. Then, once you get the patent, make sure two things. Make sure you put the patent number on every piece of literature. Prior to getting the patent, the final patent, put patent pending on every piece of literature that you have. That's going to keep people at bay so they don't know or they can't do something while it's in that prosecution phase. The other thing, and this is kind of a little side note to it, is if you come up with a unique name for your device, you can put TM in a superscript next to the name. You do not have to pay anything for that. As long as you've done a search to find out that somebody else is not using that name, you can put a TM, trademark, and that becomes yours forever and ever. If you want to spend a lot of money, like Coca-Cola, you have the little R with the circle, a registered trademark. Then you go through the Patent and Trademark Office and you get a registered trademark. But just putting a little TM next to the name was everything. Every one of our products had a name for it, and they all had a TM next to it. The other thing is on all your literature, put down copyright, the year, the name of the company that you have. If you have a company name at that point, that's going to, again, preclude people from copying it. And that goes for a lot of things. You see that a lot on websites, copyright so-and-so, whatever year it is. That's basically it. That's a quick overview of the whole patent process. But again, necessity is the mother of invention. Find out what your customers are looking for and go from there. The flip side of that is my passion, which is manufacturing here in the United States, making sure that you try to, if you are going to do something, source everything here. If you're buying products, components that you need in your product, buy them here. We can do just as well as overseas. And let's keep America growing, and let's keep our businesses here flourishing and get our economy back on its feet. And that's my 2 cents for that. Thank you very much.
Very thankful to all of our panelists. We have some time left for questions. Yes?
Do you guys think it would be more beneficial to sell your product to a company or to make it yourself as far as profit goes?
Well, you always make more money if you sell it yourself.
Yeah.
And if anybody comes up with an idea, I recommend that they try and sell it themselves. In the case of this, it's hard. We're not in that field, let's just say, and you have to get the word out, and it's hard to get the word out. You have to get, exposed. So sometimes you're better off getting the volume and having a company that's established do it, but it's always better if you make it yourself.
Did you mean manufacturers or sells? The woman who just asked the question. Did you mean that they manufacture it or sell it on their own?
Like if they manufacture it and sell it on their own, or
Both.
sell it to a company.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, well, like, if you come up with an idea, you're probably not set up to manufacture it, let's just say. So what you do is you just subcontract that out, but you sell it yourself. You have complete control of the price, the name, everything, and then you pay somebody just to make it for you, like that. That's one way to do it.
How do you trademark a name like for a business so that no one else can use that name?
I'm not sure on a business, but I think definitely on a name of a product you can do a TM. Do a Google search and say, put the question in there. I don't think I have ever seen a business name trademarked.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that?
Yeah,
have you?
ours is.
Okay.
Yeah, leading edge attachments is a trademark, and like he mentioned there, you put TM on it at first, and you go on Google and you check to make sure it doesn't exist already. That's the first step. The next thing is you start using it, and you put the TM, and you start putting it on brochures and everything, and then after say 3 years or so, 3 to 4 or 5 years, you can then apply for a registered trademark. But you have to show that you've used it over a long period of time, and you have to provide all the
documents you need to provide that you've been using it for 30 years.
Yeah, in the case of leading edge attachments, a lot of people say leading edge something, leading edge this and that. So we wanted to make sure that we trademarked that and registered it, because it's an easy thing to want to copy. So
I might be able to weigh in a little bit on that. Are you asking about not so much, a product concept, but the actual name of your business, how you would sort of have that be recognized? So do you live in Worcester?
Worcester area.
Okay, so you would, there's a few different steps. There's like local, state, and then national. And then there's, of course, online and websites, URLs. To Lee's point, good idea to Google, or if you were to plan to buy a URL or website name, if you were to go to GoDaddy or some other entity like that online, I would just suggest, guys, if you're looking for names of businesses or names that you want to actually buy as a URL, that you're ready to purchase it, because there are sort of these sharks that they can see what you've searched, and if you're not ready to purchase the URL, they could buy it and then try to sell that name to you. Yeah. So that's just one little thing. Let's say I want to open a business, even if it's a home-based business in Worcester, for example, or some surrounding town, that you would typically go and actually go to in the city of Worcester, it's the city clerk's office, and you'd file a business certificate in the amount of approximately $50 for a fee at the local level. You'd also eventually want to register the name of your business at the State Department of Revenue. And if you guys go to mass.gov/business, there's a whole bunch of different business resources in terms of that. And then the final thing, too, is if you guys go to irs.gov, which is, as we know, the Internal Revenue Service at the federal level, you can get what's called an EIN number. And guys, everybody, you really want to think about what is the legal entity. Do you want to be a sole proprietor? Do you want to be a partnership? There's some reasons to really look into a partnership to be aware of, I would say. There's LLC, S Corp, C Corp. You guys can Google all this stuff, but you do want to go and get an EIN number. That's an employer identification number if you want to be paid as a business, not an individual, and create your own business checking account. Please don't intermingle your personal and business checking. So all of these things can help you be established, and you can point to these different things to show that you've been in business, even if you're in early stages. Good question.
But when you apply for those, for the EIN number, they will check the duplication, like if somebody else has the same name.
Yes, that's a great question. There's an availability search. I registered mine, I think, in 2006, so I think there is that online. That's a great question. It's called EIN or FEIN. Basically, it's like a social security number, but for a business. Exactly, but for a business. And that's, guys, if you're like more on the service side, consultants, I know not everybody's necessarily manufacturing or plans to manufacture a product. If you're more of a service business, if you want to get paid, say, as a consultant, somebody doing service, you need to have that established number so people can actually pay you legitimately. And again, just a caution on intermingling personal and business.
Let's say that as an individual, I have an idea for a product that I want to have. And obviously, there's some cost that I'm going to incur to both get the patent, but also to develop the product. What ways are there that I can protect my idea so that I don't get almost to the point of patent and then somebody else turns out they have patented the idea already, or is coming up with the same idea, so that I'm not wasting all mine?
Well, I think what you should do, as I said earlier, document it, put it in a big envelope, send it back to yourself, certified mail, and do not open that envelope. That proves date of concept. Just in case somebody else comes up with that idea, and then a year from now you see it on the market somewhere, now you find an attorney and you go up and say, hey, I've got the same thing right here. So I think that's the best way to do it. You have to prove that date of concept.
For Amy, I was once in the AmeriCorps program.
Okay.
I didn't know that they still exist. There was a program I was in called City Work at
Yes.
the time. I was a teacher's assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys still have that program available, or did it?
Gosh, that's a great question. I've heard that AmeriCorps has changed drastically, a lot of budget cuts and sort of a lot of the local programs we used to have. But, honey, I haven't been in AmeriCorps myself since it was 2001. In fact, the year of 9/11, I was in AmeriCorps, which was a whole other story. That's another story over some other event. But 2001, 2002. But I could help look into that for you if you're looking at a particular program.
I just wanted to say,
Yeah.
it was a really good program
Yeah.
that a lot of us enjoyed. It was good for the teachers, and we just assisted teachers with the Worcester Public
Yes.
Schools. So it was kind of good. I just didn't know if they still had it.
They do. There's, as far as I know, there's
It paid
fewer.
for half of my school. I got a $5,000
Yeah.
loan, a $5,000 check to
Payback.
for whatever
Me
I
too.
got. Any type of education. So it really was good.
It's great. Thanks for your service. It's not easy work.
I enjoyed it though with the kids.
Awesome.
I was gonna say, they have a number of programs like that. They have one called City Year, and then they also have one called Teaching for America. The stipend is $500.
I have a question for Ed, since he is in manufacturing. I grew up in manufacturing. I actually teach business courses here, business and management. And every semester I do at least one field trip with my students. But what I found is that none of the students know anything about manufacturing. And if you want things manufactured here, should start somewhere in the early years of the school system here, so that students are exposed to manufacturing. So if you really want to bring manufacturing back and be successful, I don't know what the enrollment is here in manufacturing, but I know every one of my business students has no idea about what manufacturing is until I take them and they say, oh, okay, that's what it is. But I don't know if that's late or early, because by the time they come here, my personal opinion, it's already a little late, because although, you know, I'm not sure whether they would get into manufacturing. What's your opinion about that, and is there anything being done?
Well, I understand exactly what you're talking about. A week and a half ago, we had an open house here for prospective incoming students, and I talked about manufacturing. And I was pleasantly surprised that most of the questions during the Q&A session were that I received, and Lee Durden had a lot of people standing at his area talking about manufacturing technology, which is thrilling for me. It really is. It's tough, because I happen to be on the advisory board at Worcester Technical High School also for machine technology, and it's very difficult to convince people that the manufacturers today are not my father's or my grandfather's factories. They're clean. You can make a very, very good living as a machinist or working in a production environment. You can do very, very well. It's not the old, dirty, smokestack type industry. Things have changed an awful lot. I think those are the things we need to convey to the students, and it has to probably start in high school. You know, and there should be something in the high school, but, you know, I can't control what they're doing in the high school. But we really need to expose people to that. There are a lot of shows on TV that on the Science Channel or How It's Made, different shows like that are great shows that show young people about manufacturing and get them excited about manufacturing. There is a program, and I can't remember the name of it, they're using it now at Worcester Technical High School to generate interest. And it happened to be a young man who had lost his leg through an accident somehow. He got interested in manufacturing, he got interested in design. He has come up with some type of a prosthesis that is shock absorbing that lets him ride a snowboard. And it's very, very interesting. And they're using that to generate interest in manufacturing. And it's terrific. It really is. So I think what has to happen is that our culture has to change a little bit, because we've always had, everybody thinks we've turned into a service economy in this country. And everyone wants to sit behind a computer and type on the keyboard. Well, we've got to get people thinking again that, you know, there are things that you can do with your hands out there besides sitting on a keyboard, you know, whether it's in manufacturing or in the trades. As Gene said earlier, I started out my career as a high school industrial arts teacher. I have a bachelor's and master's in industrial education. And when Prop 2.5 came about back in the early 1980s, that's when I said, I've got to get out, because they were cutting all those programs. And it's unfortunate, because in my mind, you're also teaching life skills to these kids. You're not teaching these students skills that they're going to go out and they're going to be a carpenter or they're going to be a machinist, but you're teaching them problem-solving skills, and you're teaching them how to innovate and how to think. And it's unfortunately those programs have gone, and I think that has been part of the demise of manufacturing here, because we don't instill that in them at a young age anymore. That's my 2 cents.
If I could just add one other thing. Do you work at all with Carol King here at Quincy Community College? So I would connect with your colleague Carol King if you
I've not worked
at Quincy. That's okay. It's on your card. You just build that rapport with her. She'd be a very helpful resource. You know, in the massmep.org, the Manufacturing Extension Partnership is a good resource. But I would also say, guys, at the Career Center, and this is actually on our workshop calendar, the green one in the back, there is a relatively new workshop that happens every month called Career Pathways in Manufacturing, and that's done by my colleague Sharon McLaughlin, and she travels around. So Career Pathways in Manufacturing is a great presentation. It is a very, it's video-based, and she's showing a lot of statistical graphs and great conversation on what manufacturing looks like today, and that happens every month. You do need to be a Career Center member to do that, but again, just take the CCS, and then you've got your Career Center card, and you can do any of our workshops for free. At Clark, I know about them. I don't know. It's like in terms of what they're covering now, or
They help you get a product.
Yeah.
As opposed to a business.
yeah. Actually, guys, there's a contact person that could help connect you to the Innovation Mondays at Clark. Her name is actually also Amy. She's on the green sheet, and it's the undergrad focus, but she can connect you to that Innovation Mondays, or you can Google it. But good to have a person's name, guys. Go call or talk to one new person in the next day. Like, you've got a lot of thoughts in your head after a lot of great conversation here today. And my challenge to you is get uncomfortable. Do something that's going to invite you outside of your comfort zone. New results happen when you get uncomfortable. So even if it's picking up the phone, maybe you're more mechanical, like to be with a computer, that's okay. But new things happen, new doors open up when you get uncomfortable and you make that call. So call or drop by. Even in 2014, it's that face-to-face. That's when a LinkedIn invite makes sense, in my opinion, is that you actually have, like you said, the life skills, the communication. You're talking to people. You're listening. What's important to them? I love what you said about listening to the customers. It's easier than we think. Just need to listen. And then you're developing and following up with people based on what people are actually saying. But get out there and definitely, guys, I know that network, people say, ugh, network, what do I do? Where do I go? What do I say? But do something new to connect with somebody new, and it would most likely open new doors. And that's the nature of your school. If you look at your own slogan, and logo. I guess I need to eat lunch, so thank you.
I want to mention Innovation Mondays at Clark. If you have an idea for a product, you don't start with a business plan, you start with a product plan. And Innovation Mondays at Clark, they start them every now and then, and Amy probably has it on her green sheet.
Amy Whitney is her name. She can connect you to it.
And they will help you make those decisions that our manufacturing folks are talking about. Is it really worth it? I mean, is it worth it to put the money into it? Will the market support it once it's made? And Innovation Mondays helps you get through that process of developing a product plan and also, figuring out whether it might be a great idea, but if it's too expensive to produce it, you need to know that up front. Okay, any more questions? Yes?
I have a question for, is it Lou and Leslie? So say you guys were just business partners and you decided you didn't want to work together anymore. Who would own the rights to that patent, or would you have to buy each other out?
Well, the patent's listed with both our names on it, so you have to, resolve that between the two of you. You sell it, one person sells.
Someone gets the dog, someone gets the patent.
Yeah. You sell your half to the other person, whoever.
I don't know if it was in the business name or if it was in the individual names.
Well, the rights to the patent, so my name's on the patent as is his, but it's Leading Edge Attachments that would manufacture it. So I would probably sell the patent rights to him.
For $1.
Hypothetically.
Yeah, for $1.
I mean, that's what has happened to most of us. You develop, when you work for a company, as I did, like Lee did, you sign away your life. They give you $1 because when you design that product on their time, legally it's theirs. So, even though I have all these patents, I get nothing for them. The only thing I get is my own personal satisfaction. And when somebody Googles my full name, it comes up with all my patents.
I have a question. If there's 4 products, each one had their own patent, if you combine those, would you get a patent for that?
That's a tough. You have to know the specifics. You would really have to know the specifics. So what you're talking about, you're taking bits and pieces of each of those products and making another product?
Or not bits and pieces of it, say a whole product, like
had their own pattern. You weren't modifying them in any way, but your arrangement, and you get a pattern for that.
I can answer that. Generally, no. That when you go to the examiner will say, oh, it's obvious that somebody could have taken this patent and that patent and put it together to make another one.
Right.
If, however, you took, let's say, a portion of that concept and another, and put them together, but in a way that they're not individual. It's hard, it's complicated, but you can combine them, but they can't be just by himself. Like, for instance, this person had a throttle. Well, I can do an example, but you can't just take, two things and just put them together and make a new patent out of it, generally speaking.
Just a question now, say the patent for the car charger had expired. Unless they rewrote it or modified that pattern, could you use that?
Well,
Or
That's possible as an improvement patent.
you can actually get a patent on an improvement patent on another person's patent,
Right.
and they can't make yours, but you can't make yours either, because you need a license from them to even make
I
your own.
see, yeah.
So it's it depends what is in the thing, in the design.
And as far as combining them together, the terminology that they will use in a patent is obvious to someone well skilled in the art. And they'll also a patent attorney will also go back and check prior art, which means they'll go back and check prior patents. And in a lot of cases, when they come back with the first prosecution and they say they disallow it, because this is, and the term, again, obvious to someone well skilled in the art is the term that they use. Again, legalese.
Yeah, I want to mention, before you even apply for a provisional patent, you want to make sure that nobody else has ever done it before. Otherwise, you're wasting that money there.
That's right.
So I just want to mention that.
One of the things too I want to touch on is the importance of networking, because and not just electronically through LinkedIn, but so for example, I was in Colorado for a week and I happened to be in a conversation with somebody, and so I was talking with this person. What do you do? What do you? And so the topic of this product came up, and I said, so what do you do? And he goes, well, I sell healthcare products. And so he gave me his card and said, if at the point at which you get this patent and it's ready to go into production, let me know, and I'd be happy to assist you in whatever way I can. So we're not even at that point, and I think the idea of actually getting it out there and selling it is kind of overwhelming right now. But it's always just, you never know who you're going to talk to one-on-one personally, like you said, looking them in the eye and having a conversation with them, not just LinkedIn, friend me on LinkedIn, but that conversation, you just never know where that's going to go.
Well, I want to thank everyone for coming. I know that our class period is over, and some of you have classes at 12:30. Our guests will probably stay for a few more minutes if you have individual
Sure.
questions you'd like to ask, but I know some of you have to get to another class.